It is 8:42. Welcome back to Great Day for this Wednesday. And each week at this time, we like to visit with Reka. Time for Reka's Voice from the Des Moines Register. How are you?
I am very well, thank you. How are you?
Good. And we were just commenting on some things that were in the paper here today. Hold that up. Hold that up for
Not
the camera.
the weight loss. Yeah.
Hold that up for the camera.
Can you get this?
Look at the picture. See the picture on top of here?
Isn't that a good picture? Can you zero in on that? Guess who took that?
This one right here took it.
I took
did you
it
really?
with an iPhone.
With an iPhone.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Isn't that a cool pic?
iPhones are turning out pretty decent pictures lately.
These aren't the normal people you see in picket lines. Old white dudes with suits on.
So we're talking about employees of the famous Warren Buffett.
Yeah, NetJets company. So, I mean, I kind of bumped up against this. I was going to lunch at Centro, and on the way, I passed the Rouen building, and there are all these people dressed up in suits and ties carrying picket signs and doing circles around the block. And I said, whoa, what's going on here?
You said, what kind of exercise class is this?
They were in a holding pattern, yeah.
I know. So I ran over. Well, first I started clicking with my iPhone, and then I started talking to them. And it turns out that they work for this NetJets company, which is called a fractured whatever, which means these are private planes, and you buy into them, so you co-own them. And this is for the uber rich. I mean, like multi-millionaires, billionaires, we're talking. And they seat 8 to 10 people at a time. They have their pets. I mean, and they're not just limited to dogs and cats. It can be anything, and they get free reign in the plane. And these folks drink special wines ordered from the Wine Spectator, and they can order their favorite dishes from restaurants. And I mean, it's just unbelievable, the perks of the very, very wealthy in this country.
And they're on the picket line.
And yet, the pilots are being forced to picket because they're making... so one guy who's the union president said he's been working there for 10 years and he's making in the low 90s, which really for a pilot with the degree of training that you need compared to these wealthy patrons of the jets is not that much. And they sometimes have a 7-week on and 7-week off schedule. So when they're, or rather 7-day, excuse me. So when they're on, they sometimes work 98 hours. They say 98 hours, which is intense.
Flying me that,
and they can fly as far as China without stopping. From the U.S. to China, or 30 minutes. But what is ironic about this is, and I didn't know all of this when I got into it, it turns out that they had a full-page ad in the newspaper that day on the back page, is that it's Warren Buffett who owns the company. Berkshire, this is a subsidiary of Buffett's company, Berkshire Hathaway. And, you know, Buffett is known as a generally progressive guy. He was the one who made a call for taxing the rich more, the very rich more, these very people who would fly in these planes. And yet, when he was questioned about this strike, he said, well, you know, they make, on average, $145,000 a year, and they have good schedules, and they're happy. Well, they're not happy, and they've been without a contract now for several years, for 2 years.
2 years?
Contract negotiations broke down completely because the former CEO, who was also from Des Moines, and by the way, I should have backed up. I buried the lead here. Why are they picketing in Des Moines? Because Greg Abel, who is the CEO of Berkshire Energy Company, which is one of Warren Buffett's companies, works in the Rouen Center. And they believe that he's a board member of NetJets, but they don't even know because the pilots are not allowed to know for some reason who's on the board. So they say that they managed to figure out 3 members of the board, but that the company won't tell them who the other 2 are and won't even confirm about Abel and all. So they're asking for transparency, which, you know, is a legitimate, you know, quest. You should be able to know. So they say, we're in negotiation with these Phantom 5 people. We don't even know what they know about our profession and who they are and what their agenda or objectives are. So it's just a very kind of an interesting thing that you wouldn't normally think about happening.
You know, I would think a business like that, the margin would be pretty big and that they could throw a couple bucks at these
You
guys.
would think so. And they say, you know, that they make 60% of what an average airplane pilot does who flies a large commercial plane, exactly, but that their jobs are just as stressful, if not more so. They have less support, obviously.
Well, and pilot, one of the most stressful jobs out there. I mean,
I would think so. There was just this week, right, yesterday or day before, a pilot died. On what plane was that, United? Or
I'm not sure what airline it was, but in flight.
In flight, right.
Yeah.
so then the other one had to take over, and they managed to keep this
Which
from
is
the
the
passengers.
reason they have two there anyway, to be honest with you. But still,
Exactly.
it's still.
Yeah, they do
very-
have two.
yeah,
I mean, they do
yeah,
have two
yeah.
on these planes also.
So did
but
this
it's a
do anything besides you getting a great picture and a story?
Well, we
Did
hope.
this picketing do anything for
I mean, we hope that it will. There's a new CEO who they say is more accessible and at least has been willing to restart negotiations since this June. The old CEO left. He was also from Des Moines, and they said they had a really hard time with him. He was not willing to negotiate with the union at all. But the new one is. So they're in talks. They had set a deadline of early September to have a contract, but that's not
Already
worked
passed,
out.
yeah.
That's already passed, but they're still at it, and they've got a mediator now, so we're hoping that it will work. But I mean, it's so interesting that in a time when, we talk about the labor movement's diminishing clout, and there just aren't that many strikes anymore, to see these pilots in three-piece suits picketing
Wow.
outside the Rouen Center is so cool. So more power to them. I'm glad that they're doing it.
Well,
and I
good. Well,
hope
hopefully something will come of this. We can
Yeah.
get some sense out of this.
I hope so. And they're picketing in several other cities as well, where there are big events drawing the rich and famous. So
What a great picture.
Isn't
Not
that
great
fun?
for them, but it's a great picture, yeah.
And there was also a truck that was driving around as part of this with a big screen on the side that had.
Oh,
Did
yeah.
you see that?
Yeah, I've
Changing
seen
pictures.
those
Okay.
trucks, yeah.
Exactly.
All right, so that's in the paper today.
That's in the paper today.
Wonderful. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
It is 11 minutes before 9 o'clock, and if you have a pet, you're going to want to stick around because Mills Fleet Farm has something going on involving food where you can get a bunch of it for nothing, and we'll tell you how next on Great Day.